Hello YouTube, welcome back to the Bison Workshop. I'm Bob, and I think I'm going to go ahead and work on this drive dog, and it's going to make me work for it too. Um, yeah, this is the only piece of steel that I have that would even come close to working for what I want to do, and basically what I need is a piece of this flat bar right here that is 8 inches long. So, it's not the greatest piece in the world, because if you look across this, you'll see how much of a gap is in between right there. So that thing's bowed really bad. And you can see it on this side. Yeah, you can rock that back and forth, and the bend is mostly right here in this area. So once we cut it in an 8-inch piece, that's going to be a whole lot straighter, because if you was to take a shorter ruler and go across this section, it's straight enough to do what we want to do. That's no big deal. So, we've got it's straight across there. So we're going to choose this section here. And I was trying to find a place to cut this where I would have less weld to have to cut out. But there ain't no place on here where you can get that 8 inches without still cutting a whole lot of welds, because this end here is bent. I could probably try to straighten that by hitting it on the vise, but I really don't want to do that, because first of all, it puts too much stress on my vise. Yes, it'll handle it, but I can't live without my vise, so I'm not going to overdo hitting it with a big old hammer on there. I need an anvil for that. So we're going to try to cut from here to 8 inches across here where it straightens up. And we're going to mark and make sure that's right. Yep, 8 inches will do it. So we're going to do 8 inches starting from right here where the bend starts. Then we're going to go to 8 inches. Alright, once we've got that done, because we've got a flat side on this, we can take a square and square that off. Same thing with this side. Then we're going to take this over to the bandsaw, and we're going to cut both of those. I'm going to get rid of some of the weld. I still got a little piece right there, but then I'm going to have to grind these welds out and separate this piece from this piece. So this one's going to be easier to cut than this one. So once we get them separated, we'll be back. Alright, now we've got it set up in the bandsaw. We're going to cut the inside edge first, because I just ain't got a whole lot of room to work with to kind of push that back. I got too much junk there, and I need to find another place for that. I like my bench, but this has got too much on it. You need to do a eviction notice. Alright, so now we get to start the don't want to start Harbor Freight saw. Watch. I gotta do that when it the very first time I use it. Once it warms up, a minute from now it won't be like that anymore. Nice clean cut. Now we'll turn it around, cut that side, then to the grinder or the mill. I might be able to take that over to the mill. I don't know how hard it would be for that that weld would be on that bit, but I might mill that out. I gotta flatten this surface anyway, make it a little squarer, make it prettier. Might just mill it. Alright, now we're over here at the mill, and we've got this piece, and we're going to see if we can't use the mill to mill this, to mill them welds out there. I don't know if this is a good idea or a bad idea, but we're going to give it a try, and if nothing else, it fails, and that's the end of it. But I found these clamps. Let me start by telling you I don't have enough height here, because all the way down, let's say that thing's in the vise where it needs to be, which that's not it. I don't have enough to go all the way down. I need to be able to go to this surface. So what I've planned to do, and I need to address that issue eventually, if I had the swivel base on this, it'd probably be too tall. But I need about this much. So because I don't have a base, these clamps for a camper top, put on a truck, and this one here is narrower than this one, so I have a choice. I have two different choices. I can either go this height or I can go this height. So what I'm planning on doing, and I don't know how rigid it's going to make this, but we're going to try it. So this is just my way of trying to make a situation work for me, and then I'll just take that bolt out, take them apart. Now they can be used for parallels. So I'm going to take this off, but then I'm going to have to find me a set of bolts that's long enough to hold this down. So bear with me. I'll be daggone. So, let's move this over. So now there will be our stopping point right there. And we're going to mill starting from this corner. So now we got to check and make sure that the height is right. And that's the end of my travel, so I'm going to have to do this in 2 different sessions. And then when I get to the other side, I'll just go over here and go that way, so we can conventional mill it. I don't like fine milling, especially on a machine that's not rigid enough. So I guess we're ready. Let me check my battery, make sure I got enough to get us going. And it's pretty close, so let me change batteries and we'll be right back. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and start the machine. And then we're going to touch off. I hope this is not a bad idea. Alright, YouTube, now that we've got all that long ass milling done, and it didn't do very good on this. It don't do very good on welds, I can tell you that. But we've got it separated now, and whichever one of these pieces we decide to use. Now we've got two nice pieces of metal, steel, that we can use, and then I still got the rest of that, so I can get a bunch more out of it. So, you know, on future projects, short pieces, it don't matter about that bend, because as you get shorter, the straighter they get. So that'll be for something else. And I'm only going to work that hard as I go. I'm not going to do it all at once. But it looks terrible, but whichever one of these pieces we're going to use is going to be the piece we mill. So now we need to decide which one we want to use. The thickness of this is 3/8. Alright. This is 3/8. So we could probably use that. This one's a little thicker, which I would rather use thicker, but I'm kind of worried if I'm going to have big enough or have a place for the bolt, or be able to drill a hole. Yeah, that should be good. That's the size that I'm using, and it really doesn't have to be that big. In fact, I could probably take this and turn it down. If it's straight, yeah, take that and turn it down and use it for a pin to fit in a hole here. But I'd rather use this because it's already threaded. I ain't got to mess with it no more. It's done. I just got to put the bolt in it and be done with it. So we're still good with that. So we're going to drill a hole directly in the center that's going to be 1/2 inch. That's going to be for the mandrel. So we were going to use this piece, and it can still be used if you want to wobble. I'd have to put weight on the end of this, which wouldn't be a bad idea. You could take and turn a piece, a weight, and countersink it. You know, you can make it about the distance from here to here out of aluminum. Since it's lighter, the bigger piece would kind of balance it out. But this will be a later project. This will be an ongoing project. But until I can get going, I'm going to make one that I ain't got to worry about the vibration already. So, you know, I could put a weight on that and countersink it and put that bolt in it. Maybe put a spring on it. No, can't do that. Yeah, I could put a spring on it. Anyway, I'm tired of messing with that one already. Alright, so now we want to, this is the same size as the 5/8 mandrel. So we're using this as a template. And if it ain't, we can always readjust it. Alright, so now we've got that. Now we've got to find out where the pin goes. So I'll meet you over there. Alright, so now bring this up, tighten it down. Alright, move this out of the way now that we've got that where we need it. Now we need to mark where that goes. And basically you just simply so now we need to mark where the center of that is, and that's going to be right there. And we already know where our set screw is going to go. So now we want to get this hole to be just a hair bigger than this. So right now we are at 1/2. We want to be a little over a 1/2 inch, so, and I don't have nothing that big. So I'm going to have to take this off and turn it down. I'll do the whole 1/2 inch. That way it's got a little, I can tell if it's too tight or not because it'll have some flop. So I'm going to turn this down just enough for, I don't know, maybe about 1 inch, 3/4, something like that. So we'll go ahead and do this 1/2 inch hole, and go from there. So everybody's seen the drill work. I'm just going to do that off camera. Alright, now we have our 1/2 inch hole. Alright. Now, that's why I wanted that in the middle, so that if I did get a hole wrong, I would be able to readjust. So, good thing I did that, huh? So now we can just readjust this. Okay, now we're going to turn this. Alright, I think we're done with the thread part. Now we've got us a pin. And that'll work. Try it out, and there it is. So now what I want to do is I want to round the corners off. I want to round all these corners off. You know, bring that down and round it a little bit, round that and that, maybe this here a little bit, and that's just cosmetics. I'm only demonstrating the build of the part. Cosmetics will come later. So I'm going to do a little grinding on it and just kind of start here, make me a big old 45 corner here, and then just kind of feather it in both directions. So we'll get started on that. Alright, so now we have our piece made. Now we get to paint it. I went over and ground it down, ground the edges of it, so if something god awful did happen that it hit me, it ain't going to cut me as bad. It might break something, but it ain't going to be a violent one. I mean, it's going to be violent no matter how you do it, but let's just hope that never happens. But just in case, I just barely tip it, the corner ain't going to cut me. So this is basically this is my dog. And I think that'll work just fine. It doesn't have the vibrations that it had before, the shake. It used to have, that other one has the shake. I think it's drank too much coffee. So I made that so that it would move back and forth in it, so I can feel if my tailstock is squeezed into it too tight. And got my set screw, which is I think 3/16. I'm pretty sure that's where it is. Actually, it's less, 5/16. So we got 5/16 set screw, and this ought to fit the mandrel that I'm getting. And there you have it. So now we're going to put a little bit of paint on it, and once we get it painted, that's when we'll come back and I'll show you the finished product.